Connor Davis, Persuasive Speech and Audience.
It's Connor Davis, and this is my persuasive speech. There's an activity that's rapidly growing, from a rarity to a widespread phenomenon. Stacy Bullock estimates that 1.75 million of students are participating in this activity. This is not a sport, this is not a game, this is homeschooling. Homeschooling is spreading across the nation like a widespread disease. How to examine the best schooling option for a child by comparing homeschooling and public schooling. I'm going to compare them by three aspects. First, being education. Second, student safety. Third, being overall student growth. My first aspect is education. There are many aspects of education that contribute to the student's learning ability. Individual attention plays a vital role in this. In public school, the student-teacher ratio is rapidly growing, which means less individual attention for each student. This is less time for the teacher to teach the student how to work through problems, solve, help them with problems that they have trouble with. In homeschooling, this is polar opposite, as one-on-one attention is vital, plays a vital role in learning. The teacher is actually teaching the student how to work through problems, how to help them with things they don't understand. And I think that public school, the student is actually teaching themselves, but in homeschooling, the teacher is actually teaching the student. Another aspect, and this directly correlates with testing. There's a standardized test done by Dr. Brian Way that done between homeschoolers and public schoolers, and realized that homeschoolers were a lot smarter, as homeschoolers scored in the 97th percentile in reading, and also for math they scored in the 73rd percentile, which means 77% of homeschoolers are actually smarter than public schoolers. And this can also be contributed to the SAT and ACT scores, as homeschoolers score 10 on the SAT scored a 1083, which is 67 points higher than the national average. And also in the ACT, homeschoolers scored an average of 22.6 compared to the public school average of 20.9. My second aspect that I'm going to talk about is student safety. Public school student safety is kind of becoming non-existent, and this has contributed to public school student carelessness, as 28.3% of public school students had rode in a car driven by someone who had been drinking alcohol. And also 41% of public school students had drinking alcohol for themselves, and 20.3% of students have used marijuana. And this is statistics done by Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report. Here's some more statistics done by the same weekly report. Also, all this public school carelessness has resulted in danger in public schools, as 17.5% of public school students have carried a weapon on school premises, and 31.5% have been involved in a physical fight on school premises, and 6.3% of high school students have attempted suicide. So all this carelessness and the danger is in public school, because the student safety is really non-existent. But in homeschooling, it is completely different. The teacher chooses the environment that the student is involved in. The student is kind of pushed away from peer pressure and trying to be cool and all that. The teacher controls the environment, per se. And the last aspect that I'm going to talk about is misconceptions about homeschooling. Many public schoolers think that homeschoolers are not social, and that they don't have any friendships, and they're socially awkward and stuff like that, but because they are only home educated. But this is not the case at all, because homeschool is not strictly home taught education, as it's very versatile, as there's many options such as one-on-one homeschooling, like I said before, but also there's an option as co-op, which is a group of homeschoolers that come together 2 days a week for a couple of hours and actually do classes and do all their homework at home, which gives them friendships and stuff like that. It's kind of basically like a private school setting, but under a controlled environment. Also, there's dual credit classes, which is I'm involved in, which allows the student to get high school credits, and also these credits roll over to college, so it helps them get a head start on college and a couple of hours, stuff like that. So in conclusion, I think homeschooling is a better option because consistently homeschoolers get better test scores and better grades, and public school environment is full of peer pressure, and it is hard for the student to learn, and it's dangerous. And lastly, homeschool students homeschool education is very versatile and allows the student to get a head start on life. This is Connor Davis, and this is my persuasive speech.